good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you're watching from. Welcome back to the West Ham Network. If you are watching and you haven't subscribed, then please hit that subscribe button now. It's been a crazy couple of days at the West Ham Network. We've been joined by many new people on the channel. So sometimes you find yourself watching and you haven't clicked that subscribe button. It means then if that's grey, then that means you have subscribed. If it's red, you haven't. Click it, then you follow the instructions from there onwards. Hit the bell notification. That will notify you when our shows, of course, do go live. Now, the tickets have been on sale to West Ham fans, and it's going in the priorities as well. So if you have been lucky enough to get a ticket for the game in Prague, put your comments in the comment section. Let us know. Why not? Because we are all West Ham. But it is still frustrating as a West Ham fan to think that we only got 5,000 tickets. That there or thereabouts. It's a ridiculous amount of tickets considering we're in the first European final for 47 years. And we're in the size of the stadium that we're in. But what can we do? Because we don't and are not dodgy, just like those people who run the competition, which is very frustrating. But that is what it is. Anyway, we are buzzing about that. But obviously, with our season being very mixed and also involved in a bit of transitional periods at West Ham, then you would think that potentially when some players do start to play well, that teams around Europe or the world will take a keen interest in our players. Now, we do know the saga about Declan Rice. We all are very aware of that situation. Now, we just don't know 100% what's going to happen come the end of the season. He has knocked back many contracts with West Ham, very, very valuable contracts to him individually, and obviously valuable as an asset to West Ham individually as well. But it looks like it's inevitable that he will leave the club, and we are hearing that Arsenal are having internal conversations about making a bid and making him one of their top priority signings for this summer. But that doesn't mean he's necessarily going to go to Arsenal, because I don't think it's as plain sailing and simple as him just going to Arsenal. I don't think it is, because obviously you hear West Ham talking about that they would accept £120 million from a Champions League side. Now, they are a Champions League side, but will they pay the £120 million? And will Declan Rice read into the vision of what they've got? But on top of that, you're hearing clubs like Bayern Munich taking a really keen interest in Declan Rice as well. And selfishly, if he is going to leave the club, they will never pay the money that we're looking for him. But selfishly, if he is going to leave the club, I'd prefer for him to actually go abroad, because I wouldn't want it rubbed in your face. Now, as tough as losing your best player is, we as a club have to be prepared and be willing to and understand how to move on to the next level if we do get rid of the best players. Now, getting rid of your best player for a massive amount of money and a massive amount of profit doesn't mean that West Ham are going to falter at the next hurdle. Now, bear with me here. We didn't sell Declan Rice last year, and look how our season has gone in the Premier League. And we're now touted to be selling him this summer for a potential record fee. For me, he's worth every single penny. For me, I would love to keep the player more than anything. But you have to be able to sell your best players, invest that money wisely if the player has a future out with the club, and you have to build out with that. Now, hear me out again with what I'm about to say, because if Declan Rice does leave the club, we're too busy talking about having a Declan Rice replacement. Now, do we have a Declan Rice replacement already? And or do they have to be like for like? Now, I don't necessarily know if we actually have to have a like-for-like player in that position. I think under David Moyes, you probably do, because he plays that particular style of football. He likes that protection. He likes that player to sit in behind. He also likes a player to drive forward. Everyone knows that Declan Rice is capable of doing everything I've just mentioned. But under any potential new manager that West Ham may have, and that could be a realistic possibility, then someone like not Declan Rice in that position is a real possibility. Now, all we have to do is look at the creativity, the work rate, and the defensive duties that Paqueta puts in onto the park. We are all very aware of what he does for the team, but we're also very aware of what Declan Rice does for the team. But you're hearing rumors because we think and we believe that Lanzini is leaving the club. Now, what's interesting about the whole Lanzini story is that it's clubs that aren't from Argentina that are starting to show a little bit of interest in him. Now, he is out of contract at the end of this season, which is very, very soon. West Ham haven't renewed contracts, but you can't deny that on certain circumstances when he plays with specific players that he looks like a real player. And the one thing we've not really seen from Lanzini, which we saw him transition when he played a couple of preseason friendlies in that deep lying midfield role, is potentially playing in alongside Paqueta. Now, I am not for one saying to you that this is going to be our future, but he is a player that is capable of taking on that position, and as is Pablo Fornals. But what you're hearing now is that Aston Villa are potentially interested in bringing someone like Lanzini into their squad, and I don't blame them. To be honest, he's made over 220 appearances in the Premier League for West Ham, contributing 32 goals under different managers, but in his whole career at West Ham. So he's got an extremely valuable amount of experience. So moving to any other team would be valuable for him, but it's just whether or not he wants to move abroad. Now, you hear all the stuff talking about when his dad was speaking it, going back to River Plate, etc. You see him posting regularly on his social media platforms that that's potentially someone he cares about, that club he cares about. Will he move back to Argentina? Who knows? Who knows? But there is still something in there. There's a player in there that I think has a career still at West Ham. It might not be to start, but I still think there's something, a bit of va-va-voom. And I just also wonder if you find players like that, when they get to a certain age and they have a bit of a injury record, that maybe West Ham fans, me included, put them in the shelf and think, well, we need to move on and look for the future. But you just need to look at managers like the Brighton manager. I'll give you an example. You know, his ability to bring a player that potentially once upon a time was a has-been and make them fit into a system really well. Lallana, Welbeck, just to name a couple of players. They've made those players foresee their future and their career to a different standard again and raise the levels again because they've fitted them into a system that works under their regime. And that is exactly what I think we could do with players like Manuel Lanzini and also Pablo Fornals. That's why I'm not so worried necessarily about Declan Rice going. I don't want him to go. I can't imagine many West Ham fans would want him to go. But if he goes, the future's still bright because it needs to be bright. We need to prepare the mindset for when he leaves. David Moyes said it himself when he done his post-match presser after the AZ Alkmaar game that and I'm not sticking up for him, but he did say we did trial a different style of football and it wasn't working. But that doesn't mean that he's not going to try it again. We just had to resort back to it really wasn't working, so we had to get some points and get safety back on the situation. Now, for me, I want to see different football, but not to the detriment of results and not to the detriment of us getting relegated. But I want to see that happy balance. I feel like we've gone through such a big transition this year. We've still got a European final to play. You know, we win that, we get automatic coverage into the Europa League. That's a massive achievement for us. But the key part of us progressing as a club has been able to hold on to these big stars that we've got. And no ifs or buts about it. You're going to have players and teams sniffing around some of our best players. And you're hearing now that Liverpool apparently like Naif Aguerd. But who doesn't like Naif Aguerd? Apparently they're saying and sniffing around him, looking at him as a centre-back option. We all know that Liverpool are struggling. I can't see Aguerd leaving West Ham. Definitely not this season anyway. And Liverpool are potentially looking at ramping up their ability to have some reinforcements ahead of the summer window. And Klopp has said or has been a regular admirer for Naif Aguerd, and several other teams, you know, are also going to be looking at him because he's been playing in the World Cup. You know, Morocco got to the semi-finals. You've seen what he does at West Ham. He has taken a while to adjust, but essentially there is a top-notch quality footballer there. You can actually see a captain-esque defender captain-esque West Ham player. He speaks all different languages. He understands. He gets on with the squad. You can see how much he cares about the squad. So it's going to be a no-brainer that clubs from around Europe are going to be looking at Naif Aguerd, and West Ham face a battle to be able to keep a hold of him. Because the other thing you've got to think about is if a club comes in and offers you some silly money, do West Ham board sell? For me, Aguerd stays, but you're going to have teams sniffing around him. The next player to talk about is Paqueta. I mean, the guy is world class. He really is. He has taken a while to adjust into his role at West Ham, but he's adjusted with some amount of finesse. What a quality player we've got in our hands. And for me to turn around and say to you that no other team's going to be interested in him would be me lying. Of course they are, and people are going to tempt the fate with West Ham. But West Ham need to build around those two particular players, Paqueta and Aguerd, and build the team around that. That's the future of the style of play we want to play. We play out from the back. We play well with a bit of finesse, a bit of calmness. We've got a player there that's got speed, ability, and can tackle in Aguerd and play the ball through the back, through the middle to Paqueta, who drops in deep, collects the ball, covers all those areas. But we're going to have to be and ride that storm of the bids that will come in and protect our players. If West Ham can end this summer window with Declan Rice, Paqueta, and Aguerd all together collectively, then we have won a massive watch. But if we sell Rice and we keep Paqueta and Aguerd, I do think that drops only 2 or 3%. Because I think we will, and for the first time in a long time, be able to manage when we sell our best player. Because it depends on the future, the vision of what that manager is looking at. So if it is Declan Rice, I think they potentially do have a vision. I think the vision may be that if Rice isn't there, they may not have to go like for like in terms of looking for a player coming in. If it's a different manager, also the same. I think they've got an vision about maybe a different style of football, and that could be with or without Rice. So I'm not underestimating Declan Rice at all whatsoever, but we do have to get our heads around the fact that he strongly may not be at the club next year. And for my preference would be that he plays abroad. I just don't want to be seeing him wear another shirt in the Premier League. That'll be tough. That'll be a tough one to follow because he is a humble guy. He is a nice guy. He's caring. He does look like he loves the club. And you just don't want to see him in another shirt in this one because that one will hurt. That will hurt. And it will hurt because you like him, not hurt because you dislike him. It'll hurt because you like him, and that's the key element here. But when you think about the future of West Ham, if we win this European Cup and we can get back into our zone next season, do the stuff that we know we're capable of doing, then the future still can be bright. I think we can hold on to the majority of our crop of the quality that we've got within this squad, and we add bits and bobs. And if it's Moyes or a new manager, I do think we'll see a better all-round season. Although it's going to take a lot to top it. It's going to take a lot to top it if we do win this European Cup Conference League. Leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on what I've said. Hit the thumbs up. If you're new around here, subscribe to the channel. Of course, subscribe to the channel. And also, we do have a membership program as well. If you're interested in becoming a channel member, click on the join option when you do link into the channel. Take it easy, everyone. And of course, join us later on for the Hammers headlines. Come on, you Irons.